Yeah, these niggas swear they created a lane. Soul sample spitting bars that relates to the pain. 60 bars with no hooks, I was breaking their chains. They laughed at me, I stood firm, I was staking my claim.
Hello, good afternoon everybody. Welcome back to the Submerged Podcast. I'm Benji and this is
Steve. How are you?
If you don't recognize Steve, shame on you. You need to watch the Discover Takamaka or Discover Seychelles through Takamaka run, where Steve made his appearance and graced us.
I did.
With his presence.
And thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm happy to be back. Thanks for having me. And I have some big shoes to fill today.
Yes.
So
Camila's not here.
That's okay. She's enjoying some well-deserved time off.
Exactly. And as we've always said, I'm like, if the kids have school, if they have other distractions, sports, they need to concentrate on that first. So we'll take the hit for this one, but the theme was more appropriate to you and I.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So we are talking about hip hop, rap, R&B, mostly rap, I would say, but you and I were spoiled, right? You're going to be 40 soon. Sorry to bring that up.
Not yet. I got like 2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks. We're going to be celebrating Steve's 40th. I'm 46. We belong to the MTV Raps generation and the MTV and the videos, but really the golden age of hip hop, which was the 90s.
Yes.
Which most people would agree with, you know.
Right.
But at the same time, you know, despite being a little depressed in the early 2000s with all these little Wheezy, little G, whatever their names were, and their gimmicky dancers that my daughter loves, I think we're still in a new, I would say not still, but we're in a new golden age of hip hop for me.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason is that our generation, they want that original sound back. They want what we grew up with.
Correct.
What we're used to hearing, what we learned to love, you know, through our childhood. And you've got these MCs that are our age too, that grew up on the same stuff we did.
Correct.
So they're bringing it back, and they're coming back stronger than ever. Yeah.
And not only are they coming back strong individually, they're coming back strong signing other artists.
Right.
Right. So you have MCs in their 40s and 50s. Black Thought, Nas, Royce the 5'9", Jada Kiss, King Crooked, Joel Ortiz, a former Slaughterhouse, Lloyd Banks, for Christ's sake.
Right.
Right. You know?
Right.
Killing it.
The game, speaking of
the game. I mean, he shouldn't do interviews. He should shut his mouth on interviews. But when he raps, it's solid.
Right.
Right. So they're ushering, I think, a nostalgic era. Right. But what's nice is that these new MCs who respect these guys are trying to emulate them.
Right.
And then they're getting backed up by an exciting new slew of producers.
Right.
Whether it be Nicholas Craven, you know, the veterans like Static Selector, DJ K Slay, rest in peace. But there's others, Hit Boy who works with Nas. So I think it's an exciting time, but you would not know it.
No, you really wouldn't. And I think that there's an underappreciation for the art, because it's I was talking with my wife about this earlier today, and the only way I can explain some of this is that it's poetry.
Yes.
And there's just not enough appreciation for it, and I think that it needs to be more mainstream. While I think the goal of some of these artists is to remain not mainstream, I don't think they want that.
Well, there's also the appeal of either the street cred, if you were hard, or just the underground, where now you don't have to be signed to a label anymore.
No.
You can, as we are doing here, creating this podcast, you can be, as Nicholas Craven and Boldy James just showed on their last album, a wonderful album at that, a microphone with paper towel in the middle of the paper towel at a desk in a Detroit Airbnb, and they've done an immaculate, beautiful, hypnotic type of album. Maybe not for everybody's style, but at the same time, it's completely independent. It has already 1 million views.
Right. And the fact that you can self-publish is, I mean, I hate to use this as an example, but Taylor Swift is one of the biggest artists on the planet.
Yes.
And she started this, I think, with a MySpace page.
Yeah.
And now she's the queen. You
right.
know? So it is easy to get yourself recognition. You know, it's just how hard do you want to work, you know, to attain that.
Correct. And so, and today, to celebrate this kind of new era, for me, which is excitement, we're going to be talking about RANSOM.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know about this artist, right? And so we'll get into him. But before we do, you know, hey, RANSOM mentions REPOSADO.
tequila
a few times, and we thought, well, why not also introduce the world to a new bottle that we're going to discover together?
Perfect.
While we talk about RANSOM, while we talk about his lyrics. So we're indulging, just like sometimes he indulges in his words because he's very powerful in his language.
Absolutely.
And in his storytelling. But I want to bring up something, and Abuelo, you're going to love this. You know this wonderful creature that's to your left, Jaggy Jags. Jaggy Jags has been with us for many episodes now. He's the protector, the ambassador of alcohol. His entrails are almost empty, I'll be honest. We've used them for drinks, we've used them for cordials. But you will notice on the bottle, it says Casino Azul, right?
It does.
So you would think in my research that, no, that's not possible. And I'm going to surprise you. And not only am I going to surprise you, I'm going to surprise maybe the viewers of RANSOM or the critiques of RANSOM who say that sometimes he's too monotone, the way he delivers, right?
Right.
But I disagree because he can ride on some beats.
Yes.
He did a song with Russ called Blue Chip, and this is what he says. He says, when a couple of shots make you shrink in that chair, 2 drinks of that rare Casino Azul. Me and my dude Russ lose what? We got your advance spilling out of 2 cups. So not only is he getting shot, but drinking, he mentions Jaggy Jags.
Right.
So when you go to the lyrics online, it says they translated to can't see no Azul. But you know what? That would still work for me because that means I can't see blue skies. I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
But I don't care. To me, that is the perfect segue to us trying out this bottle. And then also, just in case you thought that wasn't enough, in Overnight Success of the No Rest No Wick, right?
Song.
Love that song also. What does he say? On most nights, a bottle of Reposado to suppress the sorrow. But still I'm spitting the best bravado. When shit is rocky, when you gotta test the heart that's in the chest of Drago, but even Obama left Chicago. Ouch. So a political reference, a Rocky reference, and a Reposado to drown your sorrow.
Right.
So that's just your first little taste, as we're gonna do right now, of RANSOM. We'll go deeper into him, but let's talk about this beautiful bottle.
Let's do it.
So this bottle that I researched is from Comos Tequila. They do 3 tequilas. This is the Rosa Reposado, and I'll explain why Rosa, which it means rose, right, pink. And they do an extra añejo. And they also do a cristalino. So what's special about the Comos is most reposados, they rest for about 2 to 3 months in oak, American oak, or either whiskey, bourbon, right? Rye sometimes. But he's aged this in French.
Oh,
barrels.
This is why. This is why. I get it now. Okay.
And so normal Southern. Let's how about this? They wanted to capitalize on this rosé trend, right?
Yeah.
As if it has never existed in Europe, by the way.
Right.
But the point is, so he's found a Southern France producer who actually ages a bit as rosé, and so his tequila has rested in those barrels.
I love it.
So what's going to happen on the pour, and why I'm serving it in cordials for you, Abuelo, and I, is because look at that color.
Look how pretty it is.
Look how pretty it is. It does look like a rosé wine. And so it's aged about 65 days, Steve. Okay? And it should be imparted with the taste of what is a rosé. Yeah. But while being 100%, Abuelo, we need your hand in the shot, as always. So let's taste this guy and see what happens.
Salud.
So it's a reposado, you know, so it's rested, but unique.
Smooth.
What's interesting is that as it goes down, then that's when I get the little hints of the strawberry or the blackberry.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, and
it's very subtle.
It is very subtle.
It's delicious.
It doesn't taste like it looks.
No.
Not even a little bit.
Correct.
Not like the Seychelles.
No.
Good.
It is undeniably a tequila.
Oh, without a doubt.
100%.
Smell it. It's got the burn right at the back of your throat.
Correct.
It's good. Okay, the second sip though, I get more of the fruit.
Yeah. Now that it's gotten a little oxygen, it's gotten a breath to it.
Yeah.
It's come out the barrel.
Right.
Per se,
Right.
You know, and
Right.
now it's showing some fruit flavors that you would find in a rosé.
Right. It's better after the first shot.
Yes, it is.
It really is.
Yes, it is. So it came out the gate a little strong on the alcohol. I think you were mentioning that with the burn.
Yeah.
But now it's like
It simmered down a little bit.
it simmered down a little bit. So very interesting. Comos tequila rosa reposado. If you want to try it out.
Yes, a beautiful bottle, by the way.
Yeah, handcrafted.
handcrafted.
If you can look at the designs
It's
there.
like a clay pot. It's a beautiful bottle.
It is an absolutely beautiful bottle. So that's a winner right there for us, and we'll continue sipping it as we talk about Ransom and this introduction. So, you've been listening now to Ransom for over a week, or I forced you.
I have been listening to Ransom nonstop for over a week. I've been listening to Ransom for over a year. We've been friends now for a little over a year. And you always send me little snippets here and there. But I have been on the Ransom bandwagon with nothing else playing whenever there's music in my ears for a week straight.
Beautiful. So what have you found out? There's not much information. There's a few interviews here and there, but it's very sparse. And he's a Virgo, so what we found out with a lot of Virgo artists, like when we did the Aha episode, is that they tend to be very private.
Very private.
And so through the lyrics is where really I've discovered him.
Right.
Then the tidbits that people have dropped. But what have you found out about him that was interesting, different, and you find maybe has influenced his style?
So I think there are a few things that kind of shook me as I was learning about him over the last week or two. One, he is product of a broken home. I think we hear that story a lot when it comes to this genre of music.
Yeah.
I believe his father was murdered. His mother wasn't really around. He in and out of foster care. Did jail time again. Similar story to a lot of. But I think he had a point in his career. So what I read earlier today actually was that he opted into an early retirement.
Right.
And kind of just decided he didn't want the life, he didn't want, he's been in the industry for 2000.
Yeah, 2000.
It's been a long time.
2000, yeah.
And I think he just chased it so hard that he was tired.
Yes.
And so, and forgive me, Ransom, if you see this and I'm incorrect, we'd love to get your input.
Yeah, please correct us. We love you, Ransom.
This was just my take on it. And so I think, he took a couple years off.
Yeah.
And came back basically a whole new artist.
Correct.
And I think what he did was he did Prison Time. So there's a couple of lyrics where he discusses seeing people murdered in the cell next to him, things like that, where his lyrics are based on true life events, things that he experienced.
Right.
And once he was through with that life, he decided, I'm going to be a father, I want to be a husband.
Yeah. He has two daughters, I believe.
Yeah, 2 daughters. I believe he's married to it's been the same woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so his new lyrics reflect on his family, which is beautiful because he still goes into his past, and that's what molded him into, who he is today. He recognizes and acknowledges that. But all the while, he's got this super silky smooth style, and I've told you this a few times. I get a lot of the 90s New York, the Wu-Tang, underground kind of vibe with him. And I learned today that was kind of one of his early influences.
Yeah.
And so that made me feel good that what I heard in his sound, and it's really in his sound, they're so familiar to some of the beats and the mixes that artists like Wu-Tang kind of deliver.
Right.
And that's what threw me way back because I loved Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
And you and I have talked about this at length. Like I would play every one of them. I would listen to it.
Talking about that nostalgia theme that we just mentioned is that listening to his songs and the lyrics, it brings you back to your youth, right?
Yes.
And then not only does it give you an appreciation for what we witnessed, right, and what we experienced, but then also gives you a reappreciation for Jesus. He's been doing this for this long,
right?
And so my angle, apart from knowing that he's born in Brooklyn, the Jay-Z's, the Biggies, the Foxy Brown, but then he took up residence in Jersey City.
Right.
So then the Joe Budden maybe influence or those guys. There's an interesting angle for me, and maybe again I'm going to over-intellectualize here, but we know what ransom means. If people don't know, it's the release of a person or property in return for payment of a demanded price.
Right.
A ransom, right? And to me, I wrote on Twitter to him, I go, I think you've taken the rap game hostage and you're the ransom, right? And he liked it, so I appreciate that. But more interesting is that if you look in the definition for Christianity, right, from a religious angle, ransom is defined as a redemption from sin and its consequences. How interesting is that, knowing that the life that he had. So I don't know if he, again, a ransom, maybe I'm over intellectualizing it, but I love this angle. Why? Sorry, your lyrics justify it for me.
Right.
I'll give you one. In Pulp Fiction, which is based off one of the series with Nicholas Craven, shout out to Craven, amazing work. He says, can a serpent swim in a sea of gods? Had the thirst to win and I beat the odds. Go to church and sin in a reaper's garb.
Right.
So to me, if that doesn't give you the chills and doesn't explain that this guy, and throughout his lyrics, mentions a lot of God, the snake, Christianity, there's something there to me.
Right.
And this second phase, especially from 2018 through to now, and especially the last 2 years, the last 2 years, 2.5 years, he's been on this run. He's really trying to impart to his fan base, to himself, and to others that he's to be taken seriously, and he has a lot of stuff to say.
He has a lot to say. And I think, you know, when he builds off of his experiences and the experiences of others, it comes out beautifully. And with the Christianity thing, this kind of is something that just registered. If you look at his last two album covers, you've got the Black Lion, and then you've got the Fallen Angel.
Yes,
right?
correct.
So I feel like you may be spot on with the religious aspect of this. Maybe he has found God, and maybe, or
maybe he's found his spiritual purpose through his dedication to his family and to his two daughters.
Right.
You know, listen. Well, I've got so many lyrics to come up. but where there is one, especially on the Nicholas Craven albums, and let me find it. There's just too many. Look, Ransom. Look what you made me do. But on one of the albums, he says on Circumstances, song with Game, absolutely destroyed it. But obviously, he was Game was the white of the Oreo, and he was the cookie on both sides,
right?
Because it was actually 3 verses. But what does he say? He says, I turn evil the second one of my girls mentioned. I bench press stress and curl tension. Hold the weight on my shoulders because I'm shaped like a soldier. Now I got your attention. And not only the rhyme scheme is beautiful, but also that's his new purpose in life.
Right.
To me is like, yes, handle my business, make my money, atone for my sins.
Right.
And then also find that new purpose, which we're all striving for.
Right.
So I just feel like this run he's been on just has been so classic, and we're going to talk about some more. But yeah, I wanted to bring that point up. I could be completely off.
You could be,
path.
but it really does make sense. Like when you put 2 and 2 together, and you kind of think about, you know, the lyrics and the turnaround in his life. And we don't know this guy. I mean, we don't know him. Maybe he's the same guy, and he's you know, making songs about being someone else. But you know, from an outsider's perspective, it's brilliant. It works. It works. Even if it's not true, it works.
Well, and that's, you bring up a good point here, because I put down the power of language is important in hip hop and rap, right? And he certainly, and he always says it when he starts off his lyrics, is like, let me paint these pictures for you, right? And then he says that he uses the beats or the soulful sounds or whatever is the background as the canvas. Right? So to me, that's why he is this artist that he is, right? And the power of stories, why? Because we always hear from gangster rappers, whether NWA, you know, the Ice Cubes, the Ice T's, some people really lived it. Others, not so much.
No.
Or maybe partially. And so, and I think to your point is, whether it's real or perceived, in the end, are you good with the mic and with your penmanship?
Exactly.
And we can never put Ransom in doubt. So that's why I'm like, you can search through his private life and say, well, he never did this, he's not hard enough. I couldn't care less, honestly. Because he paints such vivid emotions and pictures for me. I tend to believe him.
Right, and it is.
I got sucked in.
It's believable, and I think though, listening to him speak outside of music,
Right.
He does. It seems like it's true. It seems like it's real, and I think that he's vocally shied away from that life. He's said in this interview that the interviewer had asked him what he does outside of music, and he doesn't keep the same company he once kept. He avoids parties. He avoids conflict. He avoids the things that maybe may bring him back to a previous life.
Right.
And he's like, he'd rather spend time with his wife and kids, which very commendable.
Yeah.
And he's, but this is what's cool, because here we are, a couple of middle-aged guys
Yes.
who grew up with this, thinking, that the money and the women and the cars was what, because that's what the music was about.
More money, more problems.
Right.
The shiny suit era of P. Diddy.
Exactly. And now we've kind of done this flip of the script where it's wife, kids, family.
Right.
Still money, because
Still
it's
money.
important. It's what makes the world go round.
Yeah.
But he doesn't need that lifestyle, and he's not craving that attention anymore.
And I think that's been reflected in his lyrics. It's been reflected in his passion. And where I see it really, to me, the trampoline for me in this run that he went on, I don't want to give all Nicholas Craven, the respect and deservedly so. But it for some reason, when those two, there's a special relationship there.
There is.
And because it's less beat heavy and it's more soulful productions,
Right.
No sample snitching, by the way. Ransom told you that, and people, no sample snitching, because Nicholas Craven uses records from the 60s, the 70s,
right.
and then is able to put it into loop form where you can't really figure out who's singing and where it comes from.
There is a song where he says, what sample is this? And he says, I don't sample.
No, he says there's no sample snitching. Yeah. And so here are two lyrics from two other songs from Nicholas Craven. We already did Circumstances. This one is from Collateral. He goes, weights off, blame the scale, like drug reference. He goes, got brothers, I don't want to say the N-word, rolling in deep, but nah, this ain't Adele. Nice one.
Nice.
Stay the course, plain as braille, not so clear. Faint of heart, sacred tales. I brought a cig on stage like I was Dave Chappelle, and I aim well.
Nice.
So he made a cigarette reference, a cig, which
6 hours,
6 hour, and then talked about just and mixing in pop culture, right, and also to soulful beat. Another one, Memento, which I love. He goes, and here we go, the Christianity aspect. Our Father, most brothers don't share graces. Prayer hands undepicts what you get in some rare cases. Look in the eyes of these tatted up tear faces. Even a snake can appear gracious.
Right.
The devil.
Yep.
So here we are, the devil, the sinner, the Christianity. If it's not there, you tell me. And I know also the gospel in black culture, in American, African American culture. The church is important. The singing,
right,
the praising, and so you can't help to think that he's been impregnated by this, right? And throughout his, but now he's finding a way also to repent for this and also feel good about himself. Right.
No, the fact that I just was able to connect the dots on that one today, it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing.
It is very powerful. So another relationship that I want to bring up, and we were laughing about it with 38 Special and Shane Noir, and shout out to them too, is trust. And maybe I'm sorry if I'm massacring 38 Special. But you're special, and so is Shane Noir, who produces her own tracks. And The Bidding War just came out, the new single, where they talk about the industry. Yeah. And they talk about how you sell your soul, and now you'll do things and not respect your art, right? Right. And so, what do you think? There's about 3-4 songs they've done together. He's done a couple more with 38. What do you think of that relationship, and what was your reaction to that? Now we're introducing kind of featurings. Right. Ransom with other people. Does he play nice or not?
Okay. One quick thing about the latest track that he just dropped that ties into religion is a lot of that song, you do things to get to certain places in life, but you can't take it with you.
Correct.
And I think that's another religious kind of angle to play. But with the featuring, kind of guest appearances, I think he's an amazing artist with other artists.
Yes.
I think that
you like the Coup de Grâce from 2021 with Rome Streets
that
a
was
lot, right?
awesome. That was one of my favorites.
Yes.
And I think that you mix his sound because he's got this almost like soulful, sultry voice.
Yes.
And you've put so much 38 Special. We talked about him yesterday.
Yeah.
His voice is so unique, and I love the way he sounds. And I think you put those two together, and they're polar opposites with their style.
Yes.
But they just work well.
They work well together.
They really do. And then we talked about this with the Jadakiss tracks and The Game. And some of these other guys that, again, unique voices against this kind of soulful, sultry type voice.
Yeah.
Shay Noir's another one. Beautiful voice.
Beautiful voice.
And I think that...
And she's almost still finding her voice, I would think, compared to them that are more little veterans.
Right.
Or journeyman, although he might not want to be called that. In The Hawk, he said that. But it's also showing the respect for people who are coming up independent.
Right.
And have a voice. And it doesn't matter what genre they are or also what gender.
No, and I love...
If you can hold your own, you hold your own.
And that's the thing. I think we talked about this again yesterday, where I love seeing a female MC come up because we haven't had someone like that. The Lil' Kim era is about,
Foxy Brown,
for me at least, where I really appreciated that voice. And I think that she has the chance to really kind of pick up that flag and carry it.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate. I mean, I think there's a lot of talented female MCs out there, but then they tend to get pigeonholed into the Megan Thee Stallion thing, where I got to talk about sex the nonstop and how fat my ass is and how I can dance. It's like, well, could we talk about other things?
Right, and can they stand alone? I think that's another problem, is that they all get kind of pigeonholed into that featuring role, where they need a female voice.
Yeah.
And so they throw them on an album, with a bunch of dudes, and while it sounds great, I think, if she were to release a single album, how would it go? Yeah. How would people perceive that?
If I were an MC, right, and let's say I could hold my own, but they say, hey, I need you to go in the studio with RANSOM, I'd be shitting myself.
Oh, yeah.
Because I thought, as much as he's, I think, accepting and flows well with others, he's hyper competitive to me. And where it shows is in the song Hunger Games, where he's, again, this time he's the cream.
Right.
And Chez Noir and Spesh are the two cookies.
Right.
Right? And the song's called Hunger Games. Chez Noir starts off beautiful. There's actually a good lyric from her where she says, they gave us a choice. It's either hoop or rhyming. And Mama told me that things would change when I lose your hymen. So, I mean, good advice. Thanks, Mom.
Right.
But at the same time, the reality of what their life is, right? So, it was. So, RANSOM says, the floor's damp. Seeking for gold can only weaken your soul or cause cramps, even stomach pains. I used to want to be Hove until I was told Mockingjay would lead to some Hunger Games.
Right.
Mic drop mic.
Right.
Mockingjay, which is the Hunger Games movie, Mockingjay in terms of Jay-Z or Hove, while somebody you admire, but you can't go after him, similar to an Eminem.
Right.
Or else then you end up in a battle rap situation, or maybe then they go after the labels and like, don't work with this guy.
Right, and no one wins except for the big name there.
Correct. And then he finishes off saying, yeah, you the realist, and we get it, but please let it go, because banks can't recognize street credit. and it's smart.
Right.
It's insightful. It's impactful. And that's one thing about him, is that there's not an overextended use of vocabulary. He's not writing Shakespeare, but just like with the English language, there's not many connotations. It just hits you hard.
Right.
It hits you hard. And then finally, again with 38 Spesh on The Last Gasp, which is on the last album, Life Made Me. This is what Life Made Me. He said, I had some brothers that was guiding me violently. Now I get teary-eyed when my daughter says bye to me. And there we go again.
Right.
That family connection and what it means to him and why as a family man, and it's what I put to really conclude to me, is motivating this, second injection into his career, into his life.
Right.
And especially the run that he's been on. And as he says, what I love, when sometimes you listen to him, when the beat starts off, either Nicholas Craven or others, he's like, oh, this is beautiful. This is luxurious.
Right.
Just like this Reposado,
Right.
which we'll have another bit before, he goes, this is glorious. So he likes to use these very simple but very milky words.
Right.
And he's giving respect then, and just like he says, like yo, Nicholas, he goes, yo, Craig, where'd you get this beat from?
Right.
No sample snitch.
Right. But it's funny that let's talk about Craven for just a second, because I do think he's kind of helped revolutionize this career a little bit, and I do think that his beats have. The guy is creative as hell.
He is.
To continually come up with things that he comes up with, and not have to repeat.
Yeah.
To me, is brilliant.
Yes.
It's they're artists, and they put the word art into it, and they may not want to be perceived that way, but to me, it is. It's art. It's pure art.
And Nick is from Montreal, and what I love about Nick is that because he's operating in a city that is bilingual, now Nick, through his work with RANSOM, with Conway, with Mike Schaab, with Boldy James, and many others, he's also connecting now the folks from Marseille. He did 2 albums with Akhenaton from I Am, where RANSOM, and Akhenaton's a Virgo too, 2 Virgos appearing on a song called Already Dead, Déjà Mort. And basically it's like, the theme is, well, once you're born, you're already dead. So it's like, what are you going to do with that time?
Right.
So here we go again with that theme of like, listen, it's precious, there's not much time,
right.
and what are you going to do about it? And what's nice about it, it's a bilingual song, Akhenaton kicks it off, and then RANSOM comes in, you're like, oh, come on.
Right.
You're like, stop. Right. And again, that's why, I love Akhenaton. Akhenaton's a beast in French rap, and RANSOM comes in, and you're like, oh, god damn it, you bastard. You know? And I think maybe to end off, our preferred album, there's many good songs, there's many good bars, as we're showing in lyrics and penmanship, but No Rest for the Wicked is probably our favorite.
I agree.
In terms of the overall album, the overall production.
Right.
And Overnight Success is one of them.
I love that song.
Rituals is one of them.
I love that song.
And I think The Hawk and the Gambler, with sticking to one theme for 2 to 3 minutes while entertaining you is just brilliant.
Right.
Here is from Compromised, Nicholas Craven produced on No Rest for the Wicked. He says, they say I ramble on these 16s. My mind is too scrambled to be pristine. But I'ma still gamble on this quick scheme. Already got my Miss Queen, so I ain't gonna chase a dream girl. I ain't even gonna let that bitch dream.
Right.
So again, he's stating his fidelity to his wife.
Right.
Their loyalty, and that he doesn't need to chase hoes anymore.
Right.
That's what he's telling you.
Right.
And then on the Gambler, which was, I said, 2 minutes of only gambling scheme, he ends up, well, now we all pissed off, stuck in this pit, boss. Kind of like our daddies was trying to get their chips off. So there's a reference to that dad there. He goes, we just trying to make it jump, don't ever get it crisscrossed.
Right.
Beautiful 90s reference. Gambled with your life, you knew the price of what that shit cost.
Right.
So and he said, I used to gamble with my life all the time when he was young. So it comes down to me, there's 2 ransoms. There's the guy who had his, almost 3, the youth, the consequences he paid for thuggery, right, or thieving, or whatever he was doing. The guy entering the industry, to me, trying to be too accepted. I felt it when I listened to the previous albums.
Right.
He was trying to find his voice, and then him breaking off.
Right.
And being 100% himself in the last 3 years.
And I think that the realization that he was underground and he embraced it, that changed everything.
Yeah.
Because, an underground artist they don't have that expectation of themselves, that I think there's no pressure from the media or from, entertainment industry. And once he decided, okay, we're an underground group, this is what we're going to do, he took off, he killed it.
Right.
So, well done. I mean,
well done,
love
RANSOM.
listening to this.
We love you. Can't wait if you're gonna listen to this or watch it. We really appreciate. Thank you so much, and peace out, everybody. We'll see you next time on the Submerge Podcast. Cheers.
You alive? You alive?